Hello and welcome to Nick's Allotment Diary. I thought it was time we had a tour of my allotment. So it's mid-July now and things are growing quite well. In this bed we've got potatoes and a self-seeded sunflower. This side we have a row of Anya potatoes, and next to those we have a row of Sarpos. I think these are Sarpo Una as opposed to Sarpo Mira. Now this was the bed that I had the garlic in. I've removed the garlic and planted some dwarf French beans. These are a variety called tender crop. There are some onions in this bed as well, some Ailsa Craig onions, not many of them, just a few along there. Hopefully they won't be susceptible to white rot like the garlic. And we also have a squash growing here, which is a variety called Cheeky Prince. Now Cheeky Prince is a cross between an Ochiki Curry squash and a Crown Prince squash. You can see a flower there. The seeds for these were sent to me by Kelly from Kelly's Kitchen Garden channel and Richard and Paul, who did a collaboration and gave away some seeds earlier this year. So we'll see how this plant does. Over to one of the no-dig beds. This is the bed that's got my onions in. Now most of those seem to be doing okay. Some quite decent sized onions, particularly that one there. I'll show you. That's my hand. So there are varieties called Isabel, Rose and Ailsa Craig. I'm also giving carrots another go. These are sweet candle carrots. A few of them looking decent, but I don't usually have much luck with carrots. Just a couple dying back there, don't know what that is. Sort of red tinge to the leaves. And we've also got a row of parsnips. They're called White Gem. And this is where I've planted my sweet corn. They've started to produce side shoots, becoming quite sturdy plants. So I should have some corn from these by September. Over to the sunflowers. There's a few that have started to flower now. Some nice ones here. Just mainly the smaller varieties have started to flower. The larger ones are producing heads though. This one is a multi-stemmed one. It's got lots of flower heads. Now across to the strawberries. Haven't had much luck with my strawberries this year. I'm going to think about moving them for their next season. I think they've been in this bed too long. There are some new runners that have been planted in, but they just don't seem to produce very good strawberries. And now across to herbs. We've got some thyme and some rosemary curry plant, and we've also got oregano, some lovely pink flowers on those at the moment, and there's also some lavender and lemon balm in this bed, so quite a nice variety of herbs. Over to the bed with the plum tree in. Plum tree has grown very tall this year. I would say it must be 15 feet, 20 feet now, way above my head. It's obviously not a variety on a dwarfing rootstock, so I'm going to have to do some pruning fairly soon to bring its height down, because I want the plums to be within reach really. Don't want to have to be climbing up on a ladder to pick them. There isn't much in the bed with the plum tree because the tree takes a lot of the moisture, but I have got a butternut squash called Metro and a couple of cosmos plants. There's some leeks here that went to seed from last year. They're just starting to flower now. I'm going to leave these to flower fully because the bees seem to love them. And now we also have some dahlias. Nice yellow one there just starting to flower. Also got plenty of thornless blackberries. Bush is doing really well. It's laden this year with fruit. I've already picked quite a lot of these. I need to pick some more before the birds have them all. Moving over to this bed, we have shallots. They're almost ready to pull now. These are a variety called Red Sun. And they've produced quite decent clumps of shallots. So I want to get those out fairly soon. And also in this bed, which is one of the no-dig beds, I've also got brassicas. I've got a mixture here. We've got some greyhound cabbages, some broccoli, some kale, golden acre cabbages, some cabbages called Regency, and some purple sprouting broccoli. Now I've got a couple of buckets of potatoes here growing away, but the majority of the potatoes in buckets I've got growing at home. This variety's in flower now, with nice purple flowers. I will be turning out some of my potatoes in buckets probably in a week or two. I haven't as yet harvested any, but I think it's about time. Certainly the first early should be ready for harvest. I've also planted up a plum that self-seeded into a bed. It's come from one of my neighbour's plum trees, the plum, and it's seeded away. They are very nice plums. I've been given some of them in the past, so I thought I'd give it a try, just growing it on in this big dustbin for now. Let it get to a reasonable size and then I'll plant it into the ground. Over to the fruit bed. Here is rhubarb, To be honest, the rhubarb wasn't doing very well up until a month ago. I think it was the dry weather that we had, but in the last few weeks we've had quite a lot of rain here, and that seems to have suited the rhubarb better, and it's producing some decent stems. It is now at the point where I'll just harvest maybe a few stalks now and let the plant rest so it can heart up its crown, ready for next year. Over to the fruit trees. This apple tree hasn't done very well. This is the James Grieve. This one bore loads of fruit last year and has hardly had any on this year. I think I allowed it to produce too much on such a relatively young tree. I'll give it a prune and hopefully it'll produce some fruit for next year. The other apple tree that I've got has done much better with regard to fruiting. It's got quite a few fruit on it. We'll need to thin a few out maybe. And you can see some on the branch there. There's quite a lot on that branch. That one certainly need to remove some of the fruit so it doesn't damage the branch. And this is a duo apple tree, so it's got two varieties on one rootstock. And there are a few on this side of the tree, but not as many. This is where the raspberries are. Starting to get quite a few nice juicy raspberries now. Have been harvesting those over the last week or so, and I shall carry on doing that throughout the summer, because there's a mixture of summer fruiting and autumn fruiting raspberries in this bed. Now across to the no-dig bed at the front of the plot. Another self-seeded sunflower growing in the corner of this plot. Just let it carry on and do its thing. We have a row of potatoes. These are a variety called Picasso, starting just to tinge with yellow now, so they'll probably be ready for harvest in about 3 or 4 weeks maybe. We have a yellow courgette, just starting to produce a few fruit now. We've got some mini pumpkin plants. So this is a variety called Hooligan, and we have 2 plants over there of a variety called Jack Be Little. I'm going to let those grow across this bed. There's also a couple of self-seeded tomato plants that are growing there. I'm just going to let those grow on and see if I can get a few tomatoes on them. Now, talking of tomatoes, in this bed we have some tomatoes that are growing. Got 2 varieties. This one is a variety called Black Opal, and the other 3 plants I've got are a variety called Cocktail Crush. New fruit there. They're a blight resistant tomato related to Crimson Crush, but they have smaller fruit, so maximum size of about 1.5 inches, about 3 centimeters across. Next to the tomatoes we have beetroot. Some there are decent size, ready to harvest. Now we come to the climbing French beans. I have several varieties. These are the Blue Lake growing along this side, and then we have on this side Cobra. They're doing well. They're already starting to produce beans. They're a really strong cropper once they get going. I've had a bit of slug and snail damage, but hopefully once these climb up fully, then they'll shrug that off. This side we have some runner beans. I was given these, so I'm not sure the variety, but there are some little beans just starting to be produced here, so should have a crop of those within a week or so. Now across to the flower bed. I've had quite a few pink roses on this bush. Cut a lot of the flower heads back where the petals have fallen, and there's quite a few new buds to come. Next we have Verbena. The bees and the butterflies really like these purple flowers. And now we have these scabious. We have a lovely burgundy colour, and next to those, the yellow roses. Yellow roses have a bit of a pink tinge to the outer petals, look pretty good. And of course we have the calendula with their bright orange flowers that do really well and self-seed all over the place. Into the greenhouse, a few squash plants still need to go out. Got some Turk's turban, cucumber, and also I've got some Brussels sprouts there that need to go out once I take potatoes out. I have a few plants of this pepper. It's a variety called King of the North. The seeds were sent to me by Southpaw Davies Urban Farm. Dave from that channel sent those to me. One thing I'm finding with my peppers is I do get quite a lot of slug and snail damage. They do seem to love pepper plants. I've also got some sunflowers that still need to go out, not many of those, and a few tomato plants. Over to the other side of the greenhouse, we've got a few different tomatoes growing here. We've got another cocktail crush tomato growing indoors, and this is a beefsteak variety called Wenzel. A few tomatoes already being produced on that. These again were sent to me by Dave, Southpaw Davy. And here's another pepper plant. This one's a variety called New Ace. As you can see, the slugs and snails of having a party and eating all the leaves. And I've got another King of the North pepper growing here. At the end we have a cucumber. This is a variety called Beth Alpha. There are a few cucumbers starting to form. There's a small one there. So hopefully I should get some cucumbers on this plant. Into the fruit cage. I've done quite a bit of work on this fruit cage this year, taken all the fruit bushes out and replanted them, which has meant that I didn't get much of a crop on many of the fruit bushes because I moved them probably at the wrong time of the year. I have had some black currants and red currants. The main purpose was to get rid of the bindweed in this cage as much as possible. Whenever I see any of it coming up now, I pull it up. There's a couple of pieces there, so I'll just dig those out. The idea being is to just keep weakening it till eventually I suppress it completely. I've planted the fruit bushes around the edge of the fruit cage, which will make it much easier for me to harvest the fruit in future years. Hope you enjoyed that tour of my allotment in July. Thanks very much for joining me at Nick's Allotment. I'll see you again next time.